Hey everyone, thanks for watching. Today I just wanted to do a little voiceover about the GPX TSE300L, which is the linkage model. This bike, I think, hits a very particular market category that other brands aren't hitting. I think it deserves a little more praise than it gets. I know it's, people complain it's a Chinese bike, it's a ripoff, but, not everybody's got money to buy new ones. And for what it is, I think most people would be really happy to have it. So who this bike is for? I think this bike is for the casual rider, intermediate level rider. Someone who can race casually, hair scrambles, maybe some GNCCs. I think they will really enjoy this bike with minimal modifications. Who this bike isn't for is, I guess, an A-level or pro-level rider who does more hard enduro. I know they say it's a hard enduro machine, but in my experience with my softest enduro and C or B level on a good day level of racing, I just found I wasn't really happy with it and put a good chunk of money in there to get it to my liking. Now this varies with the experience you have with different brands and bikes. I've always had the best of the best bikes. I've spoiled myself in that aspect because this is the one thing I enjoy and the one thing that helps me kind of decompress. So I didn't cheap out on bikes. And coming from that background, it's after all the money. I mean, I'm probably 9K into this thing, and that's a lot of money. And I still feel like I would maybe enjoy a beta. Well, not a beta because I have a blow up, but you know what I'm saying. A more high-end bike. I really miss my TM bikes, but that's another story. Now, I know a lot of people have issues with me talking about stuff that I sell, and not always good terms. Now, just to quickly address that, I'd rather have no customers than an unhappy customer. I'm going to be transparent all the time, and it's something I stress every video. And that doesn't mean that this is bad. I'm just telling you who this isn't for. And I think what I just mentioned, I think this is good for 80% of people that are riding. Not everybody is pro or A-level rider. I'd say 90% of us aren't. So this bike can work for that. And we'll dig into it more. So things to look out for in these bikes from the beginning. I've had coolant leaks. I've had suspension issues. I wasn't really happy with the clutch, and I think everyone can agree that this bike needs new reeds out the box. Now, whether you want to get genuine V-Force or the knockoff V-Force, just make sure you take off your stock reeds and inspect them. Because the way that the rubber was molded, it seemed like it was blocking a lot of the airflow into the motor. So that could be part of why it wasn't lugging so well. I noticed I had to grab a lot of throttle to get this thing to load.
That's how this thing should perform.
And it's a few things, and especially when you're doing a lot to the bike like I was, it's hard to pinpoint one, but I think everybody should start with reeds because you want your bike to breathe well regardless. And in terms of clutch, I think a slave cylinder would fix a lot of people's issues if they even have it with the clutch. I think a lot of casual riding and just normal trail stuff, even some moto would be fine with the stock clutch. I know Dirt Bike Dave, he has the stock set up on his, and he has no complaints, and I think it works well for most people.
Damn it.
So just keep that in mind. A lot of people's must-do mods, even mine, might not be yours. So I suggest riding the bike as is, and then upgrading it as you feel it needs. And aside from that, I also had some bearings fail a bit premature. I had front wheel bearings go bad and steering stem bearings. Now, the wheel bearings I got from GPX under warranty. The steering stem stuff, I brought it up. They said it could be the brake lines and kind of getting caught when you compress the forks. It wasn't that. I debunked it. It's just the steering stem bearings had the slightest amount of play. And I was able to ride it. I mean, it's not the end of the world, but I wanted to replace it because somebody was interested in buying this bike. I bought it to make sure I'm okay with selling it. I don't want to sell a bike that I don't even like. And now that I got it dialed in, I feel good selling it. So I wanted to replace the steering stem bearings just to make sure everything was top notch. And long story short, the KTM ones don't fit, and I can't get a hold of GPX because they're moving. So the bike's in pieces, and I'm waiting for a set of bearings from AliExpress. So let's see how that goes. I was able to find the part number underneath it, and they have that exact part part on Allen, so check that out if you need it. And the suspension, so my forks had stiction, and I sent them to GPX like twice, and yeah, they couldn't find out what was wrong. Mechanically, they were fine. You know, I'm aligning them properly. I've never had issues with stiction on any of the like 20 bikes I've had. And it turns out the lower right fork leg is ovalized about 3 or 4 thousandths of an inch. So that could be causing the stiction and inconsistency I was feeling. So I did get the K-Tech stuff put on there, and it seems like Joe has a really good setting for these bikes. So if your forks are working properly and you want to revalve them, I suggest sending them out to him because he really knows what he's doing, as we all know. And I think he definitely is saving the GPX brand with all the stuff that he comes up with for it, ways to make it better, and by doing it at an affordable price.
Wow.
So aside from that, that seems to be all of the kind of gripes I have with this bike. The carbs, I had the Keane clone, and I think it was pretty good. I'm going to have to revisit it now that I have new reeds on there. But it didn't feel as crisp as, I guess, a real Keane. But now that I have this Electron on there,
yeah, that's an insane waterfall,
you know, the Electron's good. I think in the East Coast it's not as necessary because, I mean, what, the highest riding you'll do here isn't over 6,000 feet, and it's typically when you gotta start rejetting. So any adjustments you have to make, if any, you probably get away with just touching the air screw unless it's seasonal, like you're now riding in freezing temperatures, you're gonna rejet it. But one of the best things about this bike and platform, it makes great power. You know, it's definitely not lacking there. I think anybody on any brand that they ride can hop on this bike and say it makes good power. All those other things, the refinements with the clutch, whatever, suspension, I know that's all preference, but everyone can say that this bike has plenty of power, and it does a good job at putting it down as well. The handling of this bike, it's got good characteristics for woods riding. It's very nimble, it's very flickable, and it feels very light. Now, my personal opinion is light's not always good. I like a bike that feels planted, that'll tractor through things and not really get bounced around by the terrain that I'm riding. A lot of that is suspension, I know, but sometimes a slightly heavier bike and a little stability does go a long way. And yeah, and that's all preference. That's my only thing that I don't really gel with on this bike. You know, I feel comfortable in the standing position. You know, I like my Astra bars. They're very low and flat, so that lets me kind of get more parallel to the bike instead of straight up and down. But the handling is great, and I think a lot of people will like that light feeling. Now, the best part about this platform is the KTM crossover parts. Now, I'm not a KTM fanboy, but I think we can all agree that KTMs probably have the biggest aftermarket out of all brands out in the market right now. Because of that and their ever-changing lineup, that they get new bikes every 3 or 4 years, people sell their old bikes, and they often sell the aftermarket parts separate to get the most money out of it. Because of that, you can find things like suspension, aftermarket cylinder heads, you know, you name it, brakes, clutch stuff, levers, foot pegs, and you get them at an affordable price, which I'm very happy about, because for those of you that do get these bikes maybe secondhand or something and you want to change some things up, you have a wide variety of stuff you can do. Now, there might be some small things you'll have to fit to make work, but for the most part, you know, plastics, crossover, brake pads, levers, you know, suspension was the biggest one, because I know if you ride competitively or hard, you're going to want to do some suspension. I'm about $1,400 in suspension, and while it's great, you know, the air forks still do have some downfalls. Like when you're braking hard on downhills, they tend to dive, and if you're not comfortable with downhills, it can be a bit scary, feeling as if you're going to go over the bars. But everywhere else it feels great, and they're consistent. I know they're air forks, but you know, I'm not really having a huge issue with them. I think they're a step up from the stock. I just couldn't find any other cheaper options, but I don't know, imagine finding some cone valves for, you know, $1,500. That would be pretty awesome, just to think about. But that's definitely one of the pros about this bike. And, you know, and as long as someone falls in the market that you know, would be good for this bike, I have no problem selling it. You know, it gets my endorsement, it gets my stamp. I think it's a great bike, and no one else is doing what GPX does, and I'm excited to see them grow. You know, I hope they can tough out whatever obstacle comes their way. I know a lot of people are getting unhappy with them moving and not answering, but just be patient. You know, it's been a couple months. That's no short time. Maybe there's ways that they could have been around the whole not answering thing, but you know, they're figuring it out. You know, they're relatively new. I think they've been making bikes for 20 odd years, and that is a long time. But you know, most brands like, I don't know, Beta, they've been around for 60, 70, I don't know, like a long time. And those are companies that they have things like this down pat. And, yeah, just kind of stick it out. Be with them for the journey, because I know that they're going to be doing a lot of upgrades in the future. And these bikes are going to keep getting better. And I don't think they should be as shunned as they are. Because I know, I don't know, a lot of people stay away from these things. The resale value on them is pretty stiff. You don't really get what you put in. But as long as you know for sure you're going to be happy with this bike, which I know the content is ever growing, and I hope this video helps people figure out if this bike is for them. Because I think a lot of people will enjoy it.
2.5 hour loop.
But this bike would make a great practice bike. If I had the cash, I'd keep it just for that, or as a spare for when family or something comes to visit. But right now, I got to try it. I'm happy with it, and I'd like to move on to other brands that I'm looking to sell, because I don't want to base my business off of just one platform. I'd like to be a little well-rounded and reach the other side of the market as well. So lots of things are coming. I'm not done with GPX, but I do have a couple good videos I can make of this bike, and I just want to be transparent with everyone with this. If I want to do what I love, I don't like lying to people. I'm a really bad liar, first of all. And I just want people to know, at least my perspective, you know, someone who likes a more challenging ride, or I guess an intermediate level rider, not so much a beginner. And, you know, something on the East Coast, because there's not a lot of East Coast riders out here in the GPX. They're kind of unicorns to see, they're pretty rare. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I think that's enough for me. I hope I answered some questions. And, yeah, I'll see you guys next time.
Probably just it's out of here. Uh-oh. Got to turn her on again. Now I'm upside down. Trying to get my water thing back on. There we go. Nuh-uh. Did I bust my radiator? Oh, I did. Damn. I don't think I did actually. It's not even dead. I think this thing is